Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. This is Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agency Reviews, and this is the Friday 15, where every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, we answer the industry questions that you have submitted. And if you're not sure where to submit them, go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 because we are running short on questions. We usually have a pretty long list, but we would love to hear from you, whether it has to be with starting an agency, growing your business, a question about suppliers. We often find the experts that can answer the questions for you. So let me go, before we jump into kind of anything, let me go ahead and introduce my co-host. So I have Vanessa McGovern on from Gifted Travel Network. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, Steph. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me, and hello to everyone.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on. So for those that missed this, so we did Host Week a few weeks ago. We'll put a link in the comments to that. But Vanessa and her GTN team really came out in the spades for Host Week. So we had, who do we have? We had Vanessa and Carolyn from the GTN home team. And then we had three of your advisors. We had Roseanne talking about travel insurance.
Right.
Erica Carr talking about the marketing playbook. And then Erin Smith was talking, what was she talking about now? Can't remember, but we're going to link to all of those in the comments so you can watch them. They're all covering different topics, but I would especially, because this is really important. And this was when we had people fill out the exit surveys. A lot of people mentioned this as one of their favorite edge spots. And that's Roseanne when she was talking about the travel insurance.
She's the queen of travel insurance.
Yes, just to give people a background on her and why it's different than, say, listening to Allianz or Travel Guard and their presentations. As she comes, so she's a travel advisor with GTN, and then she also was in the insurance world for a really long time. So she has this very unique angle, very tangible, easy to understand tips, and lots of great information in that one.
She's very thorough.
Oh, I learned a lot. I mean, I feel like I've been sitting in on insurance presentations for like 20 years. And I was like, oh, well, that was helpful.
I know.
Why has no one said it that way before?
She does. She says it in a way that really makes it relatable and easy to understand, because sometimes it can be nebulous, and she makes it easy.
Yeah. And it was just so easy because she was like, here, I'm going to show you what a sample contract looks like, or like a sample policy looks like. This is what you're going to want to look for. They're always going to be numbered. This is what you're searching for. I was like, I love this. So, well, let's see. So before we get into the questions, I just want to remind everybody, because again, Host Week ended a few weeks ago. We did launch a course on starting a travel agency, and we have a Host Week special that is ending this Sunday, February 12th, for 50% off the course. So we will link to the course, and then the promo code is HWHUZZAH, like HUZZAH. So that can save you 50%. And then Monday evening, the 13th, we will be having a meetup for the course at 7 p.m. Central Time in the course community. So check that out if you're interested. And then Vanessa, let's get into our questions.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay, so first one comes from Jenny, and Jenny submitted this a couple weeks ago. So thanks for being patient, Jenny. My question is, if my host agency only quotes in US dollars, will that be tough for a Canadian advisor?
It's a great question. And, shout out to all the Canadians watching. I'm actually originally from Toronto, so I am Canadian.
You don't have the O's though. I would never.
I know. What? Occasionally it slips in there.
I would never, I hear it on Jackie Friedman. I hear it in myself. I do not ever hear it in you.
It does come out, I will say. So for Gifted Travel Network, we are a U.S. incorporated business, and we do not have a company incorporation in Canada at this time. So from the GTN lens, we can't really answer that question in the way that I know that you're looking for it, because we only do US based advisors. There are some host agencies out there, speaking of Jackie and Nexion, that do that have, a company based in Canada, there's Nexion Canada. And so for all Canadian advisors that participate and engage in Har, be sure to make sure that you're thoroughly looking at the hosts and making sure that, who can host a Canadian advisor. Not all can. We are unfortunately one that cannot at this time.
Yes. So let me just show everybody. I'm going to do a screen share for those of you that are listening in. I'm just going to host agency reviews. I'm going to the host agency list. And there's a really simple way, Jenny, to figure out who's going to be able to quote in Canadian dollars versus US dollars as a general rule. So accept agents in, if you press Canada, that'll show you who is accepting Canadian advisors into their network. So I would say that the other thing I want to mention is a couple weeks ago, we had a really great question come in about booking clients outside the currency you're quoting them in and the challenges that come with that. And we got answers from probably 8 or 9 host agencies because everybody's a little bit different and every supplier is a little bit different. And so I'm going to put a link to that in the comments so you can take a look. Definitely listen to that because that's going to open your eyes a little bit more. I think it would be best for you if you were able to go with a host agency that was able to quote in Canadian dollars if that's what all your
Agreed.
clients are doing.
Agreed.
So that's kind of the long and short on that. All right. Now, I think I'm going to give you a question you can answer here, Vanessa. So
thank you.
This is from Tina, and Tina is wondering,
Hi,
as
Tina.
someone new to the travel industry, I'm a little confused on why a consortium is important on my quest to finding the perfect host agency. Could you please explain the benefits I'd receive as a hosted advisor via the host agency through a consortium? So, Vanessa, tell us about your situation.
Yes, great question. It comes up a lot. And as a new advisor and you are in the researching phase of your business, it is important to decide, it is important to ask who the consortium is of the host, because it will play a factor in how you start and really more relevantly, how you scale your business. And so the consortia, it's all about buying power, essentially, right? So all of the host agencies, whether it's a host, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's a host with independent contractors like Gifted Travel Network, or different models of businesses that have IATA numbers, they affiliate with the consortia, and you can consider that sort of like an umbrella company, if you will, and they link into a larger company because they're greater together. All the agencies are greater together, and then the consortium can go and negotiate on behalf of all the collective agencies. And what that means, there's a few different ways in which that's relevant for new advisors, and how it's relevant most immediately is access. So when the consortia has large buying power, they can negotiate hotel programs, for example, and offer your clients additional amenities. So if a hotel is part of a consortium hotel program and you're booking that hotel for your client and they're linked into the consortia, chances are they'll get the first available upgrade. They'll get amenities like, strawberries in the room, or a credit for dinner in the restaurant, or maybe a car pickup from the airport. And there's a whole menu of amenities that it might be relevant for. But the consortia can negotiate all of that because they're doing it on everybody's behalf, versus, one individual agency might not have as much leverage with their individual sales, but put all the sales together and more doors open. Also with consortias, where it matters, where you're a new advisor, is you have to ask yourself, what type of business will you be focusing on? Who will your ideal clients be? And don't think of it as who you'll attract to your business initially. Think about how you're setting your business up for success, and what are the types of transaction sizes, or the scope of your business. So you have to decide, are you going to focus on mass market? Are you going to focus on premium? Or are you going to focus on luxury or ultra luxe? And that's when that matters with the consortium as well, because there's different consortiums for different market segments. And if you are planning on leaning into the luxe and ultra luxe market, but you've picked a host agency whose consortium is more mass market premium, it might be fine initially, but once you get into your groove and you're expanding your transaction sizes and you want to expand your marketing, it could pose a problem or a challenge, because then you're going to potentially want to switch. So you want to be picking a host home where you're going to stay and you're going to find your community and you're going to lean into the resources. And so one of the things that a consortium does is consumer marketing for you, which is a huge benefit, especially as a new advisor. Our advisors at Gifted Travel Network, they're able to hook into in our case, Virtuoso marketing. Virtuoso, the magazine, is such a beautiful publication. It's like a member sending out a Condé Nast or travel and leisure style magazine, and the affordability is amazing. And you can brand those magazines with your own business name and your own business assets. So when your client gets it, it doesn't say it's coming from Virtuoso. I mean, it's coming from you and your business name, and the call to action is for the client to reach out to you. There's also individual direct mail pieces that you can access, beautifully designed pieces. There's also email marketing, there's social media. There's a whole suite of marketing that you can access with your consortium. And so if that's the segment you want to be leaning into with Luxe or Ultra Luxe, and they have marketing that's in line with that, that has to be part of your decision making, even when you're new. So it really comes down to, who do you want to serve? What type of business are you looking to build for your overall portfolio? And maybe you don't necessarily know that right away, right? But if you are clear right away, it's important that you find a host that has a consortia that is aligned with the caliber of business that you want to sell. Does that help?
That's really helpful. And I think for those that are newer, just Virtuoso is very much tied to the Ultra Luxe and Luxe clientele market. We will put a link in to their consortium profile so you can take a look. We'll also put a link into our article on, I'm sorry, Orion's saying hello. He's a little bit antsy today.
Love it.
We'll put a link into our consortium, what a consortium is article, because some of the other things besides what you're talking about, Vanessa, with the hotel programs and the marketing, there's other things to think about too, because some consortia, like Virtuoso, for example, has a consumer facing brand. So people are aware of it.
They do.
And some consortia do not. So if that's important to you one way or the other, that's something to consider.
Thank you for bringing that up, because why that matters is our members are constantly getting leads because of the Virtuoso consumer facing initiatives. Travelers are searching for Virtuoso advisors. We just had an advisor just this week close an Amman booking. And I mean, that was like a $50,000 booking. Like, the leads that are coming through the Virtuoso profiles, what happens is that you have a consumer facing profile on virtuoso.com if you're affiliated with Gifted Travel Network, and consumers are going and they're typically searching for advisors in their geographic area, although not always the case. But that's kind of the common denominator that we're seeing. They'll find you and they'll reach out, and some of these leads are amazing.
That's important. No, that's true. And then, like, one other thing I want to mention about this, because it can be a little bit confusing, the differences between consortia and host agencies. But if we're looking at hierarchical, so it'd be your agency, your host agency has all these ICs underneath them. So they have quite a few sales. You know, it depends on the host agency size, but the larger ones will have hundreds of millions in sales. You get to the consortia level and it scales above that. And so you can tell the marketing power behind there. There's a lot of shared business resources that all the agencies that belong with the consortia can lock into. And then one of the other things to mention, though, is you as an independent contractor get access to a lot of the consortia's services and products and things like that without having to meet the entrance criteria. Because for a lot of consortia, you have to have X amount of dollars in preferred suppliers, and it's in the hundreds to millions of dollars in preferred supplier sales. And so you can't, it's very difficult unless you're amazing.
Right, that's the whole buying power.
Yeah. And so you get access into that. You can go to their national meetings. You can go on their fam trips that they've set up. As an IC, you'd be able to lock into those if you fit whatever the criteria is. So there's a lot that comes with that. And then we'll also put a link not only to Virtuosos, but just to the consortium list. So you can, there's not very many. There's hundreds of host agencies. Consortia wise, there's under 10. So
yeah, I mean, truly the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's, the consortia is there to be additional bench strength for you as a hosted advisor. And there's literally endless resources that the consortiums offer, all of them.
Yes, exactly. So that was, hopefully that answered your question, Tina, and gave you a bigger picture on the consortia and what role they play. Our next one comes from Grace, and Grace is asking, if I were to join a host agency, should I wait and take the trainings they offer, or are these all complementary to the ones that are offered independently?
So not all trainings across host agencies are not created equal. So it's a really tough question to answer head on, because it really depends on the agency and the different trainings that are offered, because there are some host models that it's more of a Netflix style training situation, right? Where you
I
are
like
part of the
that.
host agency and you just decide, you know what, today I really want to learn about cruising. And so then you can go there and, oh, look, there's a seaborne training. Let me do that one. Or maybe you go and you decide, you know, I think I need to know a little bit more about the CRM that they offer. And so I'm going to do that. And so you're kind of self-guiding yourself. There are other host agencies that outline a path. There are other host agencies that are internally branded to the host agency. There are then some host agencies that then leverage the endless amount of independent and complementary trainings that are offered by partners, by cruise lines, by tour operators, by destination boards. And so it really just depends on how you want to frame your immersion into the host agency initially and what you need. I mean, there are some people that come into the industry that already know everything there is to know about the cruise industry. So they really don't need to take those trainings, but really they need to know more about something else so they can guide, you know, they can be guided that way. So generally speaking, that's sort of a broad answer. I mean, then there's host agencies like ours, like Gifted Travel Network, where our training is mapped out and there's a clear path for training. If you're new to the industry, we have a new to the industry training path, and it is a 12-month program. And there is an investment cost to that because it is structured and because it involves coaching and mentoring throughout the year. And there's so many components to that. So really what I recommend when it comes to deciding training, before you dive into training and consume the endless amounts of content that exist in this industry. And I want to actually say a comment about that in a second. But before I do, you have to first decide, what is the end goal here? What is it that you're looking to sell? What is it that you're looking to focus on with your business? What is the product? What is the experience? What is the transaction size? And then layer your training in to support that, because otherwise you can get on autopilot and just start consuming whatever is thrown at you. Your inbox is a constant, you know, email of this training, that training, here, take this, here, win this, here, attend this, and possibly get a free trip there. So the sidebar comment to that step is, I like to tell our advisors at Gifted Travel Network, if you suffer from shiny object syndrome, this is the worst industry to work in.
Oh, God.
Because there are shiny objects everywhere. So I know travel advisors that are like, my expertise is river cruising and river cruising in Europe. And I know this and da, da, da. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, look, let me take this webinar about Bora Bora over the water bungalows because I might win 3 nights. I'm like, obviously you want to go to Bora Bora and do an over the water bungalow training. But again, does that line up with your niche and your business model at this time? No. So stay focused on what you need to stay focused on. And when you don't have a direction for your business and how you want to take the path that you're trying to take in terms of being profitable and growing, what happens is that it's so easy to fall into the shiny object trap. I know travel advisor Steph, and I'm sure you know many too, that started their business 2-3 years ago, and they have every certification, you know, that you can get. They've taken webinars, they've taken trainings, they've taken FAMs, but guess what? They don't have clients.
Yeah.
And they're not making any money. So it's very easy to fall into that because of the endless amount of training. So the good news is that there's endless amount of training. There's training for everything. The bad news is that there's endless amount of training. There's training for everything. And so you have to stay focused on what you want for your business and then allow the training to layer into that.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. I mean, we are not joking when we say there are endless amounts of training. You're probably like, oh, how many could they be? But it is mind-boggling. Like when people are like, is there any training available? I'm like, oh, is there ever? So the one thing I think that would maybe help people as they're trying to figure out which trainings to take, not only are what they want to focus on, but then like kind of putting it into buckets. So, I mean, it's important to know the operations side of your business.
Yes.
And so oftentimes host agencies will have trainings that's specific to your host agency on how you're
Right.
supposed to invoice things, how their
Right.
internal systems work, always
Correct.
take those. Always take those. But like Vanessa said, if they're going to offer a whole bunch of trainings through their vendors, because
Mhm.
they sell a lot of different vendors, only attend the ones that are going to be applicable to you. And then you can go outside of that, because for sales and marketing, that's another skill set. And
Mhm.
your host agency may have those, or you could go independently
Right.
outside of that and find
Right.
those.
That's a good point. You know, we have this discussion at Gifted Travel Network about this whole 80/20 rule, which you hear often said, but the way that we sort of categorize that when it comes to training is that typically if you're not in control of of the training and your path to profitability in the industry, what will end up happening as a default is that 80% of the training that's put in front of you that you end up consuming ends up being product, experience, destination, cruise line tour operators related, and only 20% ends up being around like business operations, marketing, and client attraction. If you want to be profitable in this industry, you actually have to flip it. You need to make sure that you are spending 80% of your time in client attraction, marketing, sales, business processes and efficiencies and operations, and 20% of your time in product, because you could know every room category of whatever hotel or every cruise line or every port or every this or every that. But if you don't know how to actually attract your ideal client, you don't have a business. Learning everything there is to know about the hotel or like the cruise line, that's not going to help you get a client. It is a very important element so that you can
Mm-hmm.
speak educatedly and understand how it fits. But what's more important is education and training on how to find your ideal client. Who is that? Where are you marketing? And you just made a really important comment, Steph. You made a comment about maybe you have to go outside the industry. Sometimes host agencies offer it. Sometimes you have to go outside. Like one example is Facebook ads. We offer Facebook ads training at Gifted Travel Network. We have a lot of advisors that successfully use Facebook ads to attract their ideal clients. We have an advisor that built an entire world cruise business on this digital strategy. That's where you put your focus on, is marketing and client attraction strategies. And that is often overlooked when you're new,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much to know and learn from a product side. But please make sure you're staying focused on that segment of training.
Yeah, I think having the balance, and I've never heard it that way, but I like that 80/20, because it is important to know the products, but
Yeah.
it's important to know how to run your business, but also then marketing it. Like those are equally as important. So
Yeah.
love that, love that, love that. We're
Good.
also going to put a couple resources in the links for this. So we do have an article on the travel agent education options. This does not obviously include them all, but we'll put some of the larger ones in there. And then we'll also put a link to our events calendar. And that's a lot. You could get fam trips, you can get in-person events. There's webinars from different host agencies on there. So that's another place you could look if for some reason you were feeling like you weren't getting enough education fire hosed into your mouth.
No shortage of education.
No. It is just crazy. Like sometimes I see people that have the certificates on their website and it's, like they have like 25 or something.
I
I'm like,
know.
wow,
I know.
there's
And it's
serial
such a great
education.
question. I'm so glad that this was posed, because it is so important to sort of take a step back before you kind of race into trainings, just to make sure you are using your time wisely.
Yes, exactly. Yes, because of that shiny object syndrome. So,
Yeah.
well, Vanessa, if people have any questions, if they want to either ask you a question or learn more about GTN,
Mhm.
what is the best way for them to do that? We'll put the link to your
Yes.
profile in the comments, but how else can they reach you?
Thank you. If you have an additional question about anything that I just mentioned, you can email join us at giftedtravelnetwork.com, and we will review that question. It'll get to me as well so that I can answer it more thoroughly perhaps. And I'd love to hear from you. And if you love the tip, you can email join us at giftedtravelnetwork.com. I'd also love to hear that as well. And that's the best way to reach us in terms of email. Of course, go to our website, giftedtravelnetwork.com, to learn more. You can follow me on various social channels. I'm most active on LinkedIn these days, and it's easy to find me on LinkedIn by just searching Vanessa McGovern. You'll see me there. Drop me a connection request to send me a note, and I'd love to hear from you that way as well.
And you can also check the comments because we'll put a link to our LinkedIn profile there. So you don't even have to type it into search. We're making it that
Perfect.
easy. So
Thanks for making it easy, Steph. You're so good.
well, thank you for joining us, Vanessa, and thank you all for joining us. We do have some more co-hosts coming up this month. So next week we have Travel Quest Network on February 17th. The following week, which is the 24th, we have Travel Planners International. So if you have questions for that specific host agency, or just any questions in general, again, make sure to go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15 and submit your questions. So thank you again for joining us, Vanessa, and we will see you all next Friday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.